This episode is brought to you by Angel Studios. Go to angel.com/Miracle Files to show your support.
Merry Christmas to all of you from the Miracle Files. We're so grateful for each one of you. We feel like you are our friends, and we're so grateful that you support the cause that we believe in bringing light and positive entertainment to the world, and in reminding the world that God's miracles are truly everywhere if we just see them. This remastered episode is one that Emily has taken and just added a few more sound effects to, some new music to. It's a wonderful story that took place on Christmas Day. So enjoy, and please have a wonderful Merry Christmas.
Wednesday, 4/20.
No, I guess you haven't made it home yet. We're in Bean Station. I want to make sure you made it home. Give me a call later. Bye.
This is the Miracle Files. I'm Emily Jones.
And I'm Holly Worthington. We're two sisters who love a captivating true story, but we're also seeking more light in our lives.
So we're on a mission to find and share unforgettable, uplifting stories of God's miracles. We hope you'll join us on this journey.
Welcome back to the Miracle Files. How we found the story that we have for you today is kind of a miracle in and of itself.
Yeah, so around Christmas time, we were looking for Christmas stories to share, and I looked up Christmas miracle in Texas. For some reason, it was really random.
So random.
And this is the story that came up.
But it's not in Texas.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it actually was in Tennessee. And
after you told me, I tried to look it up by searching like Tennessee Christmas miracle story, and it didn't even come up.
I know. And it's kind of crazy because I feel like it was just meant to be.
It was.
Like, I love this story, and I especially love Tim and Brandon, the father and son in this story. So I'm so glad we found it.
They are awesome. And stay tuned for our conversation after, because we'll share something else that you're not going to believe. So,
yeah. All right, let's jump in.
Okay, let's get into it.
It all started on Christmas Day, 2021. It was a crisp afternoon in northeastern Tennessee. Every year after Christmas dinner, Tim and his adult sons would go on a deer hunt, a long-standing tradition. Tim, a father of 3, cherished these moments with his sons, particularly since his son Brandon, the eldest, was often busy with life's demands. Here's Tim.
And we were waiting on one of my twin boys, Dylan, to get to the house. And he called and said that he was going to be late, that he would just meet us at our friend's, where we always meet at to hunt.
As Brandon and Tim drove, the tranquility of the tree-lined countryside enveloped them. But that tranquility was like a calm before a storm. As the father and son navigated a bend in the road, they saw something out of place, off in the distance.
And so me and Brandon got in a truck and went ahead and started driving to my friend's house. And we turned off of the highway onto a little 2-lane road called Hawley Road. And we came around a curve, and there was a car upside down, half of it in the road and half of it off the side. And I told Brandon, I said, well, looky there.
Tim slowed down to get a better look at the overturned car. Its roof was crushed to the point that he couldn't determine if anyone was inside. It was unsettling to see, but at the same time, he figured some drunk had wrecked the car the night before and just left it there. With as little traffic as Hawley Road got, he knew it was very unlikely the car had just barely crashed. But curiosity prompted Tim to stop. He climbed out of his truck.
And I walked over to the car and put my hand up on the side of it, and I could feel the radio.
Feeling the faint vibrations of a still playing radio, a sudden realization washed over Tim. He'd been wrong. This was a fresh accident, and someone might still be inside.
And I turned to Brandon and I said, call 911.
While Brandon spoke to the 911 dispatcher, Tim ran to his truck.
And I turned and reached in the bed of my truck and got a hatchet. And I started to knock the passenger side of the vehicle because it was upside down. That was the closest to the road. I started to knock it out, and I thought, well, if there's somebody there, I could hit them or hurt them even worse. So I went to the back of the vehicle and laid down and knocked the back windshield out. And I said, is anybody in here?
To Tim's horror, a voice responded.
And a man said, yes, me. And I said, how many people? And he said, just me. And I said, are you okay? And he said he was hurt and he couldn't get out because he was stuck in the seatbelt.
Brandon continued to talk to the 911 operator. The 911 operator asked Brandon to give them some kind of address or location marker. Here's Tim's son, Brandon.
And so I sprinted as fast as I could up the road and read a house number off, and then ran back down to Dad. And during that time, he had taken that hatchet and busted out the rear window.
Here's audio from that 911 call.
Okay, how many vehicles is it?
Just one that's flipped over in the ditch.
So the person is still in the vehicle?
They are. It's just one person, and he's a male.
Okay.
89-year-old male. He's an 89-year-old male.
It's an 89-year-old male. Okay. And do you see any hazards like fuel, fire, smoke, anything like that?
There's a little bit of smoke coming from the motor. It's not a lot, but it's a little bit.
Okay.
Tim assessed the situation as quickly as he could. How could he reach the man inside? He tried to crawl through the crumpled back window, but it was impossible to fit. Tim called to Brandon, and Brandon hurried to his father's side. Tim explained what he needed Brandon to do.
I was still on the phone with 911. I had it in my hand, and you could actually hear on the 911 call Dad going, Brandon, hurry, crawl in there and get him.
Slender and agile, Brandon dropped to the ground, determined to squeeze through the narrow window. But just as Brandon tried to crawl inside the vehicle, he noticed something terrifying. More smoke was billowing from the car.
I happened to look at the car before I crawled in, and it was smoking. And I thought, God, I'm asking you to please give us enough time.
Guys, we just saw David, Angel Studios' new movie, and you need to see this movie.
It's amazing. We went and
So
saw it last night. My younger kids absolutely loved it. Like, even my teenagers were super into it. They loved the music.
Yeah.
But the thing that I was most surprised by is how much my husband loved it.
Same. Blake loved it too. And honestly, I kind of dragged him there. And he leaned over to me like halfway through and was like, the animation in this movie is amazing.
Yeah.
And by the end, we were both in tears. Like, he was into it.
It's funny. It's suspenseful. It's got everything that you're looking for in a great family movie.
Yes.
And by the end, our whole theater was erupting in applause. Like, it was so good.
Yes, ours too. And it was so cute. There was this older gentleman in front of us that just like clapped for the last 10 minutes straight. And there were little kids jumping out up and down in excitement. It was awesome.
We are telling you, go to angel.com/Miracle Files and become a premium member of the Angel Guild. You'll get to start streaming their prequel, Young David, right away, and you'll receive 2 free movie tickets to go see David in movie theaters.
You get 2 free movie tickets to every movie that they release in theaters. And they release about 1 a month. So it's a really great deal. Go to angel.com/Miracle Files. And now back to our story.
Brandon squeezed through the back window and crawled into the wreckage. The driver's side seatbelt, a lifeline turned trap, ensnared a senior man who hung upside down. Again, saying a prayer in his heart for time and safety, Brandon reached around, feeling for the seatbelt buckle. The mangled metal made it difficult to see anything.
And so I was just feeling for whatever I could, and I found it, and I just pushed it real hard, and it clicked, and he fell face first.
The man slammed onto the car's ceiling, now its floor. Outside, Tim lay on his stomach, trying to see what was happening inside the car. He sensed the danger escalating as the smoke grew thicker.
By then, I'm concerned that maybe a car's going to come along and run over my legs. And so I kind of slid out and looked up the road and noticed that the car was on fire. And I didn't want to panic Brandon, and I definitely didn't want to panicked the elderly gentleman. And so I whispered in Brandon's ear and I said, Brandon, we're going to have to hurry.
Brandon understood the urgency in his dad's voice. But as Brandon tried to pull the man from the vehicle, the man wouldn't budge and cried out in pain.
And Brandon asked him what was wrong, and he said the seatbelt was wrapped around his arm.
And he said, I'm caught in the seatbelt. And I thought, oh, and he was all tangled up in it. And Dad reached in again and said, Brandon, the car is on fire. You need to do it now. And so I just put my hand up there and started just tornadoing, just swirling around, trying to get that thing off of him.
As flames grew higher, Brandon worked against the clock, desperately trying to untangle the man from the seatbelt. Finally, Brandon felt the seatbelt retract. Tim reached into the burning car to help Brandon pull on the man.
So he got it loose, and Brandon was able to get a hold of him and pull him halfway to the back. And then I was able to reach far enough to get a hold of his belt on his pants.
Just as they pulled the man free, the fire consumed the car, completely engulfing it in flames. After ensuring the man's safety, the gravity of the situation settled in. Tim and Brandon, overwhelmed by adrenaline and relief, stared at the raging inferno, a stark reminder of the narrow escape. Brandon dialed 911 again.
I had called 911 earlier about a car accident.
Correct.
And I just wanted to let you know that we've got him out of the car. We still need an ambulance. And the car is now on fire. We also need a fire truck.
So the car is now on fire and you've got him out of the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I need y'all, if you can, get away or from the vehicle, okay?
Okay, we pulled away. We've got him away.
How's his breathing?
He's breathing okay. He's cut up a little bit from the glass.
Okay. All right, they're coming as quick as they can, okay? Just keep him still as possible.
Okay, we've got him laying on his back.
Okay, yeah, keep him still as possible and keep his neck stabilized for me, okay? My med unit should be there within the next few minutes.
Okay, I hear him.
The fire department and ambulance arrived, and Tim and Brandon learned the name of the car's driver, J.D. Weiniger. His family had been worrying about him because he hadn't arrived home after Christmas dinner at his sister's house. Here's his daughter Pam describing what happened.
We had our dinner, and he wasn't acting just right. And so I was a little bit worried about him. I walked him out to the car, and he was going this way, and we were going this way. And so after we were gone for about 30 or 40 minutes, I told my husband, I said, I need to call and make sure Dad got home. And we were in a little place called Bean Station, Tennessee. And so I called Dad, and I left him a message. He didn't answer. I left him a message on the answer machine.
Here is the audio from Pam's voicemail.
Wednesday, 4:20.
No, I guess you haven't made it home yet. We're in Bean Station. I want to make sure you made it home. Give me a call later. Bye.
And I had still had my phone in my hand when it rang. And my brother said, Sis, you need to turn around. And I said, what's going on? And he said, Dad's had a wreck. And my heart just fell.
Pam, along with her family, was shocked to learn of her dad's ordeal. Pam says it was a miracle that Tim and Brandon saved her father. After spending some time in the hospital, JD was finally able to return home, deeply grateful to the two men who had saved his life. JD went on to live another 14 months, a gift his family cherished deeply. On the day JD passed away, Tim was by his side, holding his hand, while Brandon honored him as a pallbearer at his funeral. Pam says those final months with her father were absolutely precious to her family.
It meant everything to us to have Dad for that much longer. He got to welcome a great-great-grandson. 2 weeks before he passed, we got a 5-generation picture of my dad, me, my son, his son, and then my little great-grandbaby named Riker. And we even have a picture of Dad holding him. who knew that 2 weeks later he wouldn't be with us anymore?
Pam shudders to think of how her father would have suffered if Tim and Brandon hadn't come when they did. The thought was upsetting to her father as well.
It terrified him to think about what it would have been like had they not gotten him out, because there was no other cars. The day that I met Brandon and Tim for the first time, we were out there for at least 45 minutes, and there was not a single car that went by except for the news person that came to interview us. That was it. So he very likely could have been there for hours.
She says her father, JD, sometimes wondered why he had experienced such a miracle.
And you know, he asked me sometimes, why do you think that happened? And I said, Dad, I don't know. I said, I don't know how any of it happened, because the whole thing was just, you know, one little miracle after another. I mean, who drives around with a hatchet in their car to knock a window out, you know? And I said, Dad, look at all the people that we've got to share this story with and tell them that we know it was God that worked this miracle, you know? And they even said it on the news. I mean, you know, nowadays the news is very, you know, they try to not talk about religion or anything, but even they said that we all felt like it was a miracle from God. Not just a miracle, but a miracle from God.
Tim and Brandon agree that it was a miracle.
What if we had waited on my other son to get there rather than meet him at my friend's? Or what if we would have got stopped by a red light? Because I really believe that if we had been 30 seconds later, I don't know that we could have got him out. And to think that we might have had to watch him burn up.
Just 30 seconds stood between life and death for J.D. Weinecker. 30 seconds, and two men with big, courageous hearts and a relentless faith in God. Tim and Brandon were later awarded a Community Hero Award by the Sheriff's Department, but they give all the credit to God.
That was probably the most divine intervention of God that I've ever experienced in my life in like a physical, visual sense. And I'm just still in awe of the power and the foresight and just the presence that he has to be able to accomplish something of that magnitude. And to use two guys, a father and son from northeastern Tennessee, to do it and bless us in the process of it. I have walked away from that experience a different person.
Wow. Can you imagine what poor J.D. Weinecker would have gone through if these men hadn't come the moment they did?
Yeah, that would be probably the worst way to die.
It'd be awful.
And I know that like horrible things happen to people. People go through really hard things, but
they do.
I just think in this instance, I mean, the mercy that God had on J.D. Weinecker and the fact that these men he was able to use them and they left the house exactly the right time. It's just such a miracle.
Yeah. And another really cool aspect of this story is how Tim and Brandon went on to become great friends with Mr. Weinecker. His daughter told us about Mr. Weinecker's 90th birthday party where Tim and Brandon celebrated with him. And here's what she said.
We gave him a 90th birthday party and invited Tim and Brandon and their wives. And as it was winding down and they were getting ready to leave, Tim came over and stood beside Dad. And Dad grabbed his hand and he said, "Thank you all for coming." He said, "If it hadn't been for you guys," he said, "I wouldn't be here today to be doing this." And Dad's crying and Tim's crying and I'm crying. Everybody was crying. But it was just a really sweet moment that Dad was right. He wouldn't have been there if it hadn't been for them.
The bond that they share is just the sweetest thing to me. I mean, it's so cool that it didn't just end that day. I mean, they continue to be friends forever.
And we told you all that we have a surprise to share here. So you're not going to believe this. Like when we say these men are amazing, we are not kidding.
Yeah. So we have another quick story to share.
Believe it or not.
Brandon, turns out, was a part of another miracle a month after this happened. On January 26th, there was an elderly couple, and they had gone missing.
and a silver alert was issued, which is like an amber alert, but with senior citizens who have mental disabilities like Alzheimer's.
Yeah, and Brandon Keller was headed to work that next morning on the 28th, and he passed what used to be an old gas station. And here's what he said happened.
And right in that parking lot next to this kind of embankment, I seen somebody laying on the ground and a man standing near her and a car parked next to him. And I was like, what in the world? Probably, people on drugs or something like that. And I got to the bottom of the hill and I thought, you know what, it's just not sitting right with me. So I ended up turning around and pulling up there, and I said, hey, buddy, what's going on? I said, are they okay? Talking about the person laying on the ground. And he said, no, she's about to freeze to death. And I said, what? And so I ran over there, and I realized it was a woman. I said, honey, are you still with me? And she said, yeah. I said, are you cold? And she said, yeah. And so I ran to the truck and got my Carhartt work jacket and put over top of her, and I started rubbing her, trying to generate some heat. And I said, how long have you been out here, honey? She said, well, what time is it? And I said, it's about 6:30 or 7 in the morning. And she said, well, I guess I've been out here most of the night. And I said, oh, Lord.
Okay, so Brandon called 911 immediately. And a police officer who went to high school with Brandon arrived on scene, and he could not believe his eyes when he saw Brandon standing there.
He's just like, dude, what are you doing? I was just like, I don't know, I just came up on him, dude. And he said, bro, you done it again. And I said, what do you mean? He said, these two people have been missing, and you found them. I said, you have got to be kidding. He said, wait till the sheriff hears about this one.
So he found these senior citizens. He's like saving senior citizens left and right.
It's so awesome. And in addition to that, Brandon was awarded another medal by the sheriff's office for going above and beyond in helping fellow citizens. So,
I mean, it's just amazing what will happen if you tune your will in with God. And clearly Brandon and Tim had their wills in tune with God. And if you do, he will use you. And he used Brandon.
Yeah, these guys are seriously my heroes.
I know, I want to be like them. I want to be that in tune.
Yeah, same. Okay, well, thank you all for listening again. We hope you loved this story as much as we do.
Make sure you stay tuned for more miracles.
Thank you for joining us. If you have a miracle to share, contact us at themiraclefiles.com or find us on Facebook.
We're now releasing multiple episodes each month, so subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube for amazing video content as well.
Join us next time as we discover more of God's miracles, and don't forget to look for His light in your own lives.